Welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel. In this video, I'm recapping episode 16 of Real Housewives of Potomac. They are finally wrapping up this never-ending trip to the Eastern Shore. I'm very excited about it. They're doing their last night with a very breezy, very lovely crab boil, which now I feel like I want some seafood. Damn, I just ate. Anyway, Ashley asked Eddie at the table if he's had any communication with his mom. Now, I found that to be an oddly placed and oddly sourced question. And I was like, is this about to go left? But on the bright side, he has heard from his mom. They're trying to be hopeful that that will be a step in the right direction. As we know, Eddie's family is estranged from him because they didn't support he and Wendy's marriage. So his mom has never met her grandchildren or, didn't attend the wedding. The family didn't attend the wedding. They kind of, cut him off. So I'm really hoping that that's a step in the right direction for their family, that maybe we can hear or learn more about that. Maybe at the reunion, perhaps. We'll see. So G decides that he's going to go inside because it's too cold to eat outside, which, do what makes you comfortable. And he comes outside and starts once again kind of like teasing Ashley about having been asleep. And Giselle steps in to kind of defend Ashley, like, why are you bringing that up again? So they have a weird back and forth where G is like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Now, Ashley first says, do you have amnesia? And then she says, like, do you have Alzheimer's? Now, I don't think that that was necessarily him, that she was saying that because he was old, but you did say that to an older man. And so this makes Mia really defensive of like, that's not an okay thing to say. And Mia also doesn't know how to pronounce Alzheimer's, and she mispronounced it several times, even after Ashley corrected her. And that just made my skin crawl because I'm just like, please stop saying that word incorrectly. So this bothered me because she, G is telling her, like, I don't need you to step in and defend me. But she's like, I'm stepping in on behalf of people with Alzheimer's because that is a legitimate disease. And it's like, yeah, it is. And it is a disease that deals with memory loss. So I get it. But it's also like, why did you have so much to say in this moment about the, Alzheimer's community, but you have not stepped up and said anything to G about the many inappropriate actions that he's taken on this trip? That really bothered me about Mia. Like, where was this energy when he was licking his tongue out at Karen and you just didn't say a thing? I don't like it. I don't like it. Eddie and Wendy tried to fulfill Ray's desire of having Karen pop out of a cake. And Giselle is like, you supposed to be naked and have whipped cream on your nipples and did that. And it's just like, Giselle, you're showing your age. And like, also, who needs marriage or sex advice from you? Madam, please move on. So they're still on this thing about Wendy not being a good host. I still don't see where Wendy wasn't a good host, but I'm obviously biased, so I'm not even gonna try no more. It is what it is. Fine. Karen is preparing for her vow renewal. I think that this is a lot to do. Karen is kind of acting like a blushing bride. And I'm not saying don't be excited about your function, like celebrate, every part of your life as often as you want to. This is a lot, especially because she sent live butterflies to people. Now, that's a level of cheesiness that I expect from Karen. What I don't expect is for Giselle to make comments that is like kind of gaudy. And it's like, Giselle, have you seen your home? Have you looked in your closet? Girl, please. So we learned that G and Mia's mom actually got into it. Post the trip to the Eastern Shore, they went on like a little, couple staycation with just the two of them while Mia's mom is watching the kids. Well, apparently she had some questions about dinner and she kept calling Mia, which bothered G because, they were on their trip. And so, he's like, why can't you just figure these things out for yourself? Like, why do you need to keep calling her about these questions? And Mia's mom is like, these are your kids. So, like, what you want to do? So, they cut the trip short and, came back to the house because Mia was afraid that, her mom was just going to walk out on the kids. She's very triggered, her own relationship with her mom. She just doesn't want her to do that to her kids. Now, I completely understand that. G and Mia's mom get into a pretty heated argument in front of their kids. This makes Mia really uncomfortable. But here's my question. Like, Mia starts talking about how her mom just didn't ever show up for her, like one Christmas, and that her mom was always kind of abandoning her. Now, I don't know the time frame here, but if your mom had or has these tendencies, why were you trying so hard to force this experience of her watching your kids onto her? If you guys are still building your relationship as mother-daughter, which maybe at this point y'all really need to just look at it as being more like friendly because that time has come and gone, maybe this was too much too soon. And maybe it was just too much pressure for her mom. I don't know. I felt really uneasy about that. And then also just like, how's this going to impact her sobriety? So, G is like, I don't, feel comfortable with her watching the kids by herself anymore. And I'm like, y'all never really needed her to do that. That's something that Mia, I think, was really, really pushing for, because that to her was more defining of like her being a mom, her being the kind of mom that she really wanted her to be. And I understand the desire, but you have to also kind of keep things in perspective as well. So I think it was just too much too fast with that relationship. So Giselle and her girls go to a plant nursery. They're going to put some finishing touches on Hotel Giselle. And it's like, do you have a front door yet? But okay. So Giselle and her girls, which y'all know I live for those girls because those are the only people who Giselle takes seriously and who she's even the slightest bit vulnerable with. And the girls start saying that they're concerned about her because they don't want her to die alone. Now, I can understand this, like having a mom who is single and who, is older. You do have this concern that like you don't want your mom to be lonely. But I also think that like Giselle is still a relatively young woman. And I think that a part of this is just the way that we frame singlehood for women. And they're too young to understand the totality of like what that means. But do they have that fear for their dad? Because their dad can't keep a woman. So just, something to consider. But they're also very candid with Giselle about the fact that she is just not a feelings person, that she's not emotionally available. And Giselle is concerned that that her girls won't know how to relate to people on an emotional level because she doesn't really do that. She's not very vulnerable with people. And she's like, I want you guys, like, when you start dating, to just be aware of that. And the girls are very honest in that, well, what example did we have? Like, we never really knew you guys together. And, there was the awkwardness of last season as well. So it's like, you want them to practice something that they have not seen an example of. And I love that one of the girls said, you have to lead by example. Like, we haven't even seen you practice emotional vulnerability. Like, you are not emotionally available. And Giselle seemed genuinely shocked by that. But I guess, like, again, like if your awareness has not been activated yet, then yeah, like when you learn certain things about yourself, it is like, oh damn, that is me. So I'm really happy that they had this conversation with her and that it actually led Giselle to go back to therapy so that she can begin to work on being more vulnerable. Kudos to that. Like, therapy for everybody, chill. So Ashley, speaking of therapy, look at that segue, which probably would have been great had I not identified it as such. But anyway, so Ashley goes to her therapist and she's talking to the therapist about the fact that basically Ashley navigates her marriage with Michael from what I believe to be a very fear-based perspective. This is around the time postpartum last year where Michael started to kind of like pull away a bit and where he had that indiscretion. And so Ashley is trying, despite the fact that it would be physically uncomfortable for her to be sexually intimate with him, she's trying to push through that because she doesn't want him to go seek it elsewhere, that's a really shit way to have to navigate a marriage. Like, that sounds awful. And the fact that she tries to be sexual with him and he's not interested. And I was really, really happy that the therapist was like, you need to be more focused on the emotional health of yourself and of your relationship. The physical part will come. That I wish that like we could stitch that on a pillow, because I think women are so, heterosexually speaking, we're so focused on pleasing, on the pleasure of the man. And it's always like, I was listening to something earlier today and they were talking about how like all these married women are just like so worried about like their libido, and they want an increased libido so that they can, you know, provide more sex for their husband. But it's like, well, are you deriving pleasure from this sex, or are you just doing it in service to him because you are afraid that he's going to seek it elsewhere? If that's your mindset about having sex with your husband, then no, that's not going to be very sexy at all, because you're just doing this to hold on to him. It's actually kind of manipulative in a way. And Ashley and Michael, just like their whole shit is weird to me anyway. And the fact that the way he went on and on about Juan, and then the producers did that whole package of just like Michael constantly confessing his love for Juan, it's just so weird. Like, your wife is right here trying to be intimate with you, and you're talking a whole lot about Juan. It's so weird. And the producers asked Ashley in her confessional if Juan and Michael have a bromance. And if they do, it is very one-sided, like, as far as I'm concerned. Like, Juan is obviously not checking for this man. Juan is barely checking for anybody, okay? So it's just creepy all around. And then he was like talking about the buttons near the toilet. Like, dude, what? Wrap it up. I'm done. So Wendy has a photo shoot for her home essentials line for the candles, and it's her daughter, and her mom. And shouts out to Eddie for putting together her business plan and figuring out the finances and how to get everything done. Once again, Eddie continues to be the hero of this whole story. So Wendy takes, for some reason, she's actually talking with the photographer about, you know, like, how did you come to become a photographer? And of course, you know, with him being African, being, you know, the child of immigrants, he's like, no, you know, like, he studied engineering, because Wendy has talked extensively about like what the expectations are when you are a first generation kid. And this prompts her to have what I just don't feel like was an appropriate conversation to have at that time, where she tells her mom, you know, if you had been a little bit more open or like more supportive or like whatever, maybe I could have started to pursue my goals earlier in life. And her mom, of course, immediately gets defensive, and she talks about the fact that Wendy herself, apologized to her son the other day because she made a mistake in assuming that he did or didn't do something. I can't remember. And she's like, you know, you never apologized to us. Now, again, I think that it is important for children to have conversations with their parents about the ways in which maybe they failed them, but within reason. Because I don't know how it is in non-Black families, but you really can't tell a working class Black parent that they failed you in any way, because all they can harp on is the extent to which they work so hard for you. And it doesn't matter whether they were there for you emotionally. It doesn't matter the ways in which they conditioned you to now have all these different trauma responses. None of that shit matters to them, because they don't want to hear that what they did as a parent was not enough. And it's fair, it's understandable that people would get defensive about that, but you're also at the same time dismissing your kids' feelings, which is exactly what Wendy's mom did. You know, she didn't want to be held accountable. And again, kind of rightfully so. Like, why are you having this conversation in front of a team of photographers? Like, it wasn't really the best time to do that. And I wonder if she left because she felt put on display or on blast. Like, this ain't the time to have that conversation. Don't criticize my parenting in front of these people right now. So I can kind of understand that. But it was also, I think that might have happened behind closed doors anyway, because Black parents don't want to hear that you missed out on anything as a child when they worked so hard to provide these tangible things for you. It's very hard for them to hear that that wasn't enough in some ways. And so, you know, I can understand that. So, that's it. Next week is the season finale. We're going to see, you know, Karen's wedding, vow renewal. We're going to see Juan and Robin have some sort of a blow up. Did you guys see the reunion looks? Slide in the comments. Let me know if you saw them, whose look you liked, whose you didn't. Be sure to like and comment and share and subscribe and become a patron so that you can send me money so that I can retire early. And I will see you guys next week. I've also started reviewing the last season of Insecure, so make sure you check out that video as well. The recap for episode 1 is already up, depending on whatever point in time you're watching this. There may be more episodes up by the time you watch this. I don't know. But check out my other videos. Thank you guys for taking time to chill with me today, and I'll talk to you soon.